There's this famous quote, I think from the Baal Shem Tov, that if one is to criticize another human being, it probably reflects some guilt that this person carries on himself. And psychologically denying it, he's venting it out on others. There's this famous quote in today's world: every accusation is a confession. And we know the buzzwords: genocide, ethnic cleansing, war crimes, and whatnot. And we as the Jewish people know very well that all of those accusations are confessions. If we look into the history of the last 2,000 years, we encountered extermination, ethnic cleansing, occupation, ghettos, second-class citizenship, denied basic human rights, and the list goes on. And there's this tension between the nations of the world and the Jewish people, because when we look at them, the question is asked by itself: how come? How come you did that to us? How did you treat us with such cruelty for the last 2,000 years? And they have no answer to it. So they must vent it out psychologically by making us equals. If we did what they did to us, we do now to others, it is like, yeah, we did it in the past, you do it now, we're equals now. And there's actually even more to the story, because they could have argued that the Jewish people didn't have a land, they didn't have any responsibility. And in politics, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. You have to kind of do the lesser evil to save the world from the greater evil. And of course, you can sit in your basement and criticize the higher echelons, the politicians, of what they're doing, because you don't have any responsibility. But wait and see, if the Jewish people will ever get some kind of responsibility, they will be the same. And they waited 2,000 years until we got some kind of responsibility. We joined the family of nations. And now they are afraid that this excuse will vanish. So they must keep this narrative alive, because it will deconstruct the entire narrative, the guilt trip that they cannot deny. Interestingly, the very first time that this kind of psychological war game takes place is in this week's Parsha. Dusan and Aviram, they make one of the most illogical, preposterous claims. They actually accuse Moshe Rabbeinu of taking the Yiddish kinder out of the land of milk and honey. This is exactly what it's called, an accusation that is a confession. Who else, if not Dusan and Aviram, are the people of which, when the Torah says Uchay Noida Haduvar, Moshe Rabbeinu says Uchay Noida Haduvar, after he did what he did and he realized that those stitches headed over to Paroi and told on Moshe Rabbeinu, and he had to flee. That is why we are still in Gulas, is what Rashi says that Moshe complained. So they were the ones who denied from us in the most conspicuous of ways the land of milk and honey. And they're expressing it by telling Moshe Rabbeinu that he denied the Jewish people the land of milk and honey. I mean, they could have said, we are in the desert, it's not very pleasant over here, so maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe slavery was not the best choice, but still better than what we have now. But no, they had to accuse Moshe Rabbeinu with the very crime, with the very guilt feeling they couldn't confess, and projected it in the very same way, although in the most illogical way, against Moshe Rabbeinu.